Okay, so let's go into more detail of parts and their roles. Let's get that a bit bigger. There we go. So let's talk about managers. So these are the protectors. They are the ones that are doing most of the criticizing, controlling. They act to keep the person feeling secure by controlling people, situations, events, and other parts. So this is what we need to go into as well a little bit, is the parts all interact with each other. This is an ecosystem. They bear huge burdens of responsibility for keeping it all together and fear that relinquishing control will lead to worse outcomes. They protect against pain, vulnerability, instability, and their motto is never again. And you can see how this links to the shame model, how these parts come in, how this could be the self-ideal. You need to live up to this, or we just won't ever be accepted. They are controlling, criticizing, self-critical, planner, judged, caretaker, people pleaser, perfectionism, overachiever, pessimistic. You probably see this in yourself, other people. Then we have the firefighters. These are the reactions. These are the protectors are extremely reactive, and they spring into action whenever pain from other parts, especially the wounded exiles, threaten to overwhelm. They are last resort. They are firefighters act powerfully and automatically to repress emerging exiles, release pressure. They soothe. They get us out of danger fast. They can overpower managers' effort to control the system. Their motto is, I like these mottos. It helps me understand very well. Their motto is when all else fails. So you'll see that in addictions. When all else fails, if I don't want that, just to be alone, just to be alone, probably that means that the exile might come out. Those voices saying you're lonely, you're failing, you don't have friends, whatever it is. This is what the firefighter will do. It'll make sure that you're not alone. It will be the one that immediately makes you go to scroll on Instagram or whatever. Then that will trigger the manager. See, you're comparing yourself to other people, and it has this effect. Has this horrible they have their horrible relationship with each other where they're making each other worse because of these roles. So an example of this is anger, rage, sleep, work, sex, diet, exercise, video games, addictions, eating disorders, self-harm, suicidalities, dissociating, distraction, obsession, fantasy. They're quite serious and they're causing a lot of problem to a lot of people's lives. And the key is, what I'll get into, is how to overcome them, is to have compassion for them. They are personalities and it's not their fault. They just try and protect you. And that's a big first step in understanding this and overcoming addiction, is understanding that you have to have compassion for these parts, which we'll get into. And managers and firefighters are basically just protecting the exiled part of you, the inner child. Another word for it is inner child, but there are many of them as well. It's not just one, and they are different. They are frozen in time, in different parts of time in your past. So they hold painful emotions that have been isolated from our conscious self for protection. They want to be cared for, but can leave the person feeling exposed and vulnerable. Protectors fear this will destabilize the system. So they do everything at all costs, managers and firefighters, to make sure these exiles don't get put out into the forefront. They are an example of rage, dependency, shame, feeling inadequate, feeling too much, terror, fear, grief, openness, spontaneity. But these are the inner children. These are the parts of us these are the vulnerable. This is the vulnerable side of us and they lose their essence because of these emotional traumas. And like I said, in the shame part of this course, this is the part that takes on the feeling of not being good enough. So it just makes sure that also it doesn't get exposed. And then we have the big self, our true essence, our God self, our Christ consciousness, whatever you want to call it, whatever you believe. But this is something that all people have. Every person has a self, and you can see the self in others. You start to tune into the self of yourself. You tune into it. You'll see it in others. You'll see that most people, or all people, are using their managers and firefighters just to get through life, just to make sure these exiles don't come to the surface. And that's why it's so difficult for people to connect, to show their authentic sides, because they got hurt So they just don't want to. But the self is the essence of all of this, is the embodying, it's the soul, it's whatever you want to call it. Okay, so we'll go into more detail on what the self is, but that was the parts and their roles. And then we'll start talking more about how to unburden your parts and with the meditations. Okay, so I'm getting into the juicy stuff now.